are back for another update from Dhara Shah, my lovely client, in our living case study showcasing all of this process for you. I'm Kristen Iris, creativity mentor and speaker, and I help socially conscious creatives of color to clear and dismantle the oppressive beliefs and conditionings holding them back and create a paradigm shift in their creative work and in their lives. And that is exactly what we're doing with Dhara. So at this point, we're about a month into her program. She's coming up to the end of her 30-day challenge. So to give you a little bit of context on what's been going on, she had a 30-day challenge to do a piece of art, a piece of drawing, painting, sketch, doodle, something every day for 30 days. And in the middle, so when we had our session 2 weeks ago, I gave her a little bit of an added challenge to that, which was to continuously share her art every day, not only with someone, which she had already been doing, so that was a step she had already taken, but to share her art specifically with a particular person in her life that I was challenging her to share her artwork with every day, as long as it was artwork that she felt was appropriate. So that was sort of her additional challenge to that task, so that she's not just stepping into her artwork and really stepping into this part of herself that she had kind of closed off, but she's sharing it with other people. And that's more of the step that we were taking, was what is the experience she's having sharing with other people? What is coming up for her when she starts sharing with other people? What are some of the struggles and challenges and dialogues that are happening? What I noticed from her is as we were talking, she actually didn't quite do that at the beginning. For the first several days, she wasn't sharing with that person, but then she let me know. She's like, I kind of sent them all to this person at once. Because she said that she was holding back, she was feeling resistant, she was kind of nervous about it. Even though she didn't do it right away, I was still really proud of her awareness on that, and of the fears and things that were coming up, and to get to that point where she was like, you know what, I'm not going to let this stop me, I'm going to do it. There were some other things that she did that surprised me, that I was so proud of her for, but I will have her tell her story of the last 2 weeks, and I will check in with you after.
The last 2 weeks have been interesting. A lot of things have been coming up. The first thing that I was working on is bringing people into my artwork and things that I'm passionate about, and being my most authentic self in different spaces than I normally or traditionally would. So, for example, I wore Indian clothes. I did an Indian Western, we call it Indo-Western fusion, and I wore that to work one day, and that was good. It went really well. I felt pretty confident about it. A lot of people were like, oh, your clothes are so pretty, whatever. Some people thought it was, outwardly say it was weird, but I could tell, and I just also didn't really care. And it felt really scary, and I actually kept telling my coworkers, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna do it, and then I finally did it. And I was glad that I did, but it definitely did take me a long time to actually do it. And then once I did, the next day I flew out to New York, and I wore an Indian tunic and jeans, and totally loved it, rocked it, and didn't feel self-conscious at all. So I felt like that was really great. The other thing I was working on is bringing people into what I like doing and sharing my artwork with people, because I'm not a very good artist, and that's always been a fear of mine, that I spent so much time learning math and science that I lost this other part of me. So I've been sharing my artwork, even though it's been not great. I haven't been filtering my artwork. Normally I would send things that only I thought was really good, and now I just send everything. And that's also really scary, because it's okay, I just produced this piece of crap, and I have to share it with someone. But it's actually been also kind of fun to just be yeah, I'm not perfect. That one, I don't know how to draw hands or feet or legs. That's okay. That's just not my thing, and it's fine. So I think my biggest gain and triumph has definitely been wearing my Indian clothes to work. When I was younger, I specifically remember this time that I threw a fit and started crying because we were supposed to get our family picture taken, at JCPenney, and my parents wanted me to wear Indian clothes, and I like absolutely would not go to the mall wearing Indian clothes because I knew I would get made fun of, because I'd already been getting made fun of for bringing in food and whatever. I went to like a predominantly white school. So anyways, so I, you know, like being able to be someone who now makes decisions to bring in my culture every day and through different aspects, even though I work in not super diverse environments, was challenging for me, but I did it and I'm super proud of myself. And yeah, a challenge. So one of the things that I've been never great at is setting boundaries. Kristen and I actually were messaging about that back and forth because I felt like I was being too nice or too vulnerable, and I just like, I have a hard time setting boundaries, and then people take advantage of what I can do, how I can work my time, because I don't set boundaries myself. And that's been it's been a challenge to have conversations, to be able to own what my boundaries are and not feel guilty. I always find myself feeling guilty, like, actually, no, I can't, I don't have the bandwidth to do this, or like, no, that's not within the scope of my work, or like, actually, you've used up all your hours with me, or something like that. I always feel guilty, like, saying no. And I've said it a little bit, but I think I can do a lot better with those boundaries. And sometimes it's not even limited to like what I produce and what I work on, but even in conversations that I have with people, especially when it comes to race and Indian culture, like some people say some really problematic things and do really problematic things, and I'm kind of trying to figure out, like, I spend a lot of time calling people in, and I think that's necessary, but also it's really exhausting to have to do it all the time, and figuring out where my emotional boundaries are so I don't burn myself out is something that's been challenging. And in general, the other thing, which I think ties to setting up boundaries, and one of my friends posted this and it really resonated with me, is that struggling to find your self-worth outside of what you can produce. I have struggled with that. Like, that's probably the crux of my problem, is that, you know, producing, doing work does not define a person. I mean, yes, I'm at work for the majority of my day and I want to do a good job, but like, and that's, I mean, I'm already struggling with it. But like, I am a person outside of that, and I'm worthy and I'm strong, and just because I don't produce, or if I choose not, see, I'm struggling with that. But it was a really great quote. My friend put that she's been struggling with owning her self-worth out of just like someone who just produces and does stuff and works all the time and works himself down to the ground. And I struggle with that too. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to be working on the next couple weeks. Boundaries and producing, and finding like that balance of like, I need to get stuff done because I am starting a bunch of different side jobs that are awesome but require a lot of work. But I need to find that boundary of, you know, where am I working myself into the ground, and where is it like healthy? Am I happy with how I'm doing things, what I'm doing, that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's the last couple weeks for me. And yeah, that is all. Goodbye.
Great. So as you just heard from Dhara, there were some things that were coming up for her, some challenges and some struggles that she was being aware of in terms of separating her actions and production, her producing, from her worth. And worth is a lot of what we are working with her on, so that she can cultivate a sense of self-worth and a love that is separate from what people think of her and the judgments people have. Because in doing that, which is where she's being blocked, she will be able to really step into her creativity. So some of the things I was really proud of her for was wearing Indian clothes. This is at work. This is something that we had talked about on our initial call. It's something we talked about in the 2-day intensive. And it was something that she really wanted to do, was do this fusion of Indian and Western style and wear it to work. And she was really concerned about any kind of backlash, judgments, commentary that she might have from her coworkers or other people at her job. And so she stepped into that, and she just like texted me one day. She sent me a message. She's like, I wore my Indian clothes to work. And I was like, I gotta see a picture. So she had someone take a picture and send it to me. And I was just like so proud of her, that she did this. And I asked her how she felt. She said she felt really good. And then she was like playing Indian music in the office, and like everybody was like dancing to it and enjoying it. So she was just having like a rockin' day that day. Some of the, she also mentioned boundaries, like some of the things that she was doing in her job and creating certain boundaries that she wasn't necessarily acknowledging first as boundaries, or as setting boundaries. And I kind of had to point that out to her. I was like, she was messaging me one day. She was very frustrated, and I was like, well, how is this affecting your work? How is this affecting how you show up? And as she was describing it, I was like, that sounds like you're learning to set boundaries. And she was like, yeah, I guess I am. And I'm like, yeah, so you're setting certain boundaries. Now I just want you to be a little more intentional about your boundaries, to be like, what boundaries do I really want to set, and what can I do to set and enforce those boundaries and make those clear with the people that she's working with. So at this point, we are going to be stepping a little bit more into clearing going forward, and clearing up things and making some shifts and more action steps in her life that she needs to clear things out of the way so that she can move forward in her creative work and her creative endeavors and different projects. And so this first month has been a lot more of like exploration and seeing the things and the challenges and the thought patterns and stories that are coming up for her and how they're playing out. And now we're going to be stepping more into what are the shifts, like what are the actual things, tangible things that you need to change in your life now that you have this awareness. What are you going to change, and what's going to come up for her when she changes those? Some of those things she has really felt a challenge with, and this is going to be her chance to really like step forward into that. So I'm very excited. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, because there are going to be more updates coming your way. And I also do other videos for creatives of color, and hit the bell so you get notifications. And I will see you guys in the next video, sharing more of Dhara's journey.